bienvenue. Welcome once again to another live stream. I am overjoyed to find my good friend Karen Bashford in the virtual studio, an empowerment coach. And she's going to educate little old me, as well as hopefully you, by virtual extrapolation, so that we understand a bit more about why an empowerment coach, how it helps people, and perhaps a little bit of her own personal journey. Karen, a very big welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
So explain, would you please, in words of one syllable or less, to this 6-year-old brain here, exactly what is an empowerment coach and how is it you can help women of a certain age find their way?
Okay, well, an empowerment coach is somebody who actually helps you become a calm, confident person who stops self-sabotaging their lives.
Gosh, yes, I see a lot of people doing that, but you
Mm,
focus particularly on ladies.
yes.
Is there any particular reason for that, or is it that you feel that may be the way? You just feel that's the right route for you?
My experiences of me, so it's logical that I focus
Yeah,
on a woman. But that doesn't stop me working with men. Yeah, we all have the same problems. It's just that obviously my experience is from a woman's perspective.
right.
So,
And and
yeah.
and would you, dare I ask, can you tell me something of yourself that has led you to this? Because I've known Karen quite a while, and I've seen a journey in her just during that time to where you are now. I mean, she looks like a strong, confident, dynamic, uh, uh, welcoming, happy human, and dare I say it, you weren't always that way. Um, and so this journey here and the is been down, I suspect, to the techniques that you bring to the table anyway. And so you are literally taking it from experience, yes?
That everything I do is from experience. I'm a qualified hypnotherapist, not that I hypnotize anyone. I'm an NLP practitioner. I use the tools, but everything that I work with is from my own personal experience. And my journey started probably when I realized at 55 years old that my mother never, ever told me she loved me or hugged me, and nor had my father. It was a huge realization because I had never thought to question it. It was just how life was. And yet I'm the most huggable person going. I can't get enough hugs. And I tell my friends I love them. That is so, so important to me. And yet here I was at 55 years old, suddenly realizing, hey, my parents had never told me they loved me or hugged me. They provided for me. I was safe and secure, but that's totally different from actually hearing the words "I love you" and physically feeling love.
But you
So
know what?
yeah.
To all those who've had, and I think it might be a generational thing, because I know a lot of people who say who said that. Some of them go, "Well, it never did me any harm, did it?" Um, you must have heard that before, because I've heard it lots of times. And you think to yourself, yeah, but how much more of a better character would I be if I had been shown love and affections, rather than having to fight through and realize there was a better way? I suspect it took you a while to become that huggable, lovable person that you are. Perhaps you had almost to have that self-realization that actually that wasn't the way to show affection to children or other people.
Well, amazingly, the NSPCC, National Society of Protection of Children, states that if a child is not hugged, touched, or told they're loved, it's classed as emotional neglect.
Wow.
Yeah, neglect. We all need to hear words of love and to physically feel the expression of love. If you don't get it, you're actually suffering. You're actually being traumatized because it's a natural human requirement.
I think it closes down a portion of you.
Mm,
Uh,
that's-
I mean, I didn't get any of that really from my father. I got none of that. I did get a little bit of it from my mother, but it always used to be in connection with doing something for her. It was almost like a reward for
mhm,
doing something for. So it never felt genuinely given, if you see what I mean.
yeah.
Do you reconcile that with with perhaps your own experiences, or
Absolutely. My parents, regardless, just didn't know how to show love or affection to me or even express words simply because they were never shown it.
how
And I
sad?
appreciate we can learn, and exactly the same as I've learned, that love can be expressed in so many ways. But if somebody isn't shown, you can't expect them to show somebody else or their children. So there's no blame attached here. It's just the reality of it's passed down through families. Yes, we can adjust. And if I'd ever had children, I'd have probably been the most affectionate one going. But then the trouble is, we can go to extremes. We can actually give too much love. We can be too protective.
Oh God,
So
yeah,
there's a happy medium.
right. And talking of happy mediums, you're going to find this an amusing segue. You use other esoteric techniques within it, including tarot, including card, a number of different methods. See what I
Yeah.
did, the happy medium there. Uh, uh, how did you fall into that? Because that wasn't always your path, right?
Yeah. Well, no, that's not strictly true. I've always been psychic.
Right.
As a child, as a 5-year-old, I had ghosts as friend. I had a little 5-year-old friend who I could actually physically see.
Hysterical.
And we used to spend a lot of time in the garden playing and such like, just as an animal kid. But I didn't actually have a human friend. I had a ghost friend. It was real
Right.
fun and I loved it. Unfortunately,
Bloody confusing for everyone else, though, I'd have thought.
yes, because they never saw who I was talking to.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
But unfortunately, going to the first infant school, I had a school teacher who tried to put a kid sit next to me. And I turned around and said, "You can't, my friend's sitting there." And I got told, "Don't be so stupid. There's nobody sitting there." That was the start of my journey that I was aware of anyway, that changed my life totally into somebody who didn't believe in themselves. Because here's my parents saying and allowing me to play with a ghost because my mother is psychic. And although she couldn't see it, she knew what I was talking about and understood. Whereas the school teacher obviously didn't understand that at all. And she literally destroyed my confidence because one minute I'm told, yes, it's great. And then I've got a school teacher telling me, no, it's not. And you want to fit
The
in.
most confusing thing for a
Yeah,
child is for
yeah,
persons of authority to then contradict each other. That's absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
So
Wow.
that was the start of my trauma, my real awareness of trauma, being told that, no, you can't see ghosts.
So at age 5, really,
Yeah,
onwards.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But even though your mother understood psychic symbolism, etc., she still didn't empathize, perhaps.
She understood it. Her own experiences. I've never known her talk about ghosts. But she was a lady who was manipulated by her own mother, and that's what she knew.
Ah, yes. So it flows through. So you're the one to break the chain, then.
Definitely. I am totally different from anyone else in my family.
Right. Right. And in no way denigrating them. It's just that you've chosen a different path.
Totally and absolutely. My path is what brings me the joy, even though I've been and pain. I am so grateful to have reached this point because it's made me who I am. And that's this laughable, lovable person.
Now, I wanted to draw attention to the logo that I've placed in the corner, which isn't per se your logo. It was a painting done for you, yes?
Yes. Yeah.
And If I can ask anyone viewing right now, look carefully at it, because what you'll see initially, you're drawn to the picture of a child there, but if you look carefully, there's a dark outline of an adult, and I think there is some deep symbolism here for how you work. Am I right?
Very much so. I actually commissioned that painting from a beautiful lady who's very much into intuition, using esoterical healing methods and such. And I simply gave her instructions that I wanted an image of a child within the heart. And obviously, the way I work is I work with the inner child, but not in the same way as a psychotherapist would.
Right.
Because for me, the inner child is your soul, who's been on your journey, who knows all the answers you need to change your life.
Well,
And as an
it's the
adult, we
unmasked.
still carry that child within us. That child never leaves us. So that's how
It's the unmasked. It's the unmasked part of you. It's the
yeah.
the real you
Yeah.
in a way,
Yeah.
and in some ways, many ways, and I think in myself, it's the child that never was quite grown up. In the sense it doesn't have to put on airs and graces. It just is.
It's such a playful creature, your inner child. If you really connected with your inner child, that's partly why I am as I am now. Because when you first knew me, as you said, I very rarely smiled. I
Please,
didn't have this
I didn't
calm
mean that in.
energy.
I didn't mean that in any.
Oh, I don't take it in any
Denigrate.
offensive way. Don't worry, I don't, because I know how I was.
I
And
mean,
that was the
this is
reality of my life.
Karen and I have been talking for well, I think it's 2 or 3 years, maybe slightly longer.
Yeah.
And just in that time, uh, if I can be so bold, you've made a major transformation. You absolutely you radiate a positive, affirmative, creative, delighted energy. Whereas when I first met you, it felt like it was a struggle for you, frankly.
Yeah.
And I absolutely appreciate that. Just standing on the sidelines, looking in, not really playing a part of your life, but just getting that snapshot every time we came across each other. And and when did the change happen for you, if I can be so blunt?
It started in October, November 2022. When I came back from a walk, I literally walked through my front door and collapsed, basically. I just went to bed. I could not move. And for
Was that
5 days,
you almost had enough? It was just
it was my body just totally saying, you just can't do this anymore. Just stop. And it made me stop. 5 days in bed. I was fine after 5 days. I got up, I got around to doing things again. I had a bit of brain fog, but I hadn't had COVID. It wasn't COVID. It wasn't even a flu. It was just my body saying no more.
yeah.
I recovered from that. And then in January 2023, I actually went into a nervous breakdown. My
And
body literally just released every emotion that had been stuck in my body for the last 50
how
odd
did that
years.
manifest? You once again
One
stopped.
day I was fine, and the next day I was just crying the whole time. I spent a month just crying.
Right.
It was phenomenal. I needed to do it though, and I acknowledge it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Sure.
But why did I have to get to that stage? Because I wasn't recognizing what my body was warning me about, and that was it. Just couldn't cope with any more harm it was suffering, the emotional damage that was being done to me.
So what did you do next? How did you recover your position? Because you obviously you knew that once you'd gone through that, you needed to find a way of moving forward. So because I think I remember I spoke with you a number of times before that period, and then a few times shortly after that, where I could see something was changed. I have no idea what it was, but you weren't like now. And then more recently, I would say 2023, and then early 2024. And I'd say early 2024, you were definitely very similar to where you are now. And since then, it's just been the same or improved, as far as I can see. And that's just from my perspective. What what made you pull all those strings together to decide your course was now this?
I surrendered, totally and absolutely surrendered, in the
You
sense of I stopped trying
Heather,
to control.
sorry, forgive me. Heather talks about this as well. My wife, Heather, surrender. Right. It's important, I guess.
If you surrender, you give total control away for from your thoughts back into your true self, your true essence, the
Right.
person you are supposed to be, your intuition, your psychic abilities, whatever you want to call it. You trust that you will be guided in a way that supports you, rather than thinking that you know the right actions to take. You allow the right actions to happen, or you get the guidance to allow the right actions to happen. But you're not giving up control of your life. You're just giving up that decision that says, I have to know every action I take every second of my life.
Right.
And in doing that, you start to realize that if you're listening to your own self, whether it's your body or your mind, in the sense of your connection to source, whatever you want to call source, whether it's God, universe, or whatever, you will always receive the right guidance. You will not go wrong. And literally just doing that allowed me to see where my life had been a problem. Obviously I knew what my life was like, and it was horrendous, and I acknowledged that, but I still didn't know how to get out of that habit of being the old me, I suppose is one way of putting it. And in surrendering, I discovered the new me. And the more I allowed myself to just let go and just listen to how my body was feeling, what I heard, sensed, smelt, whatever, because I'm all 8 clairances. I'm in the sense of my body feels other energies. I can physically see other energies. I can taste, I can smell things that aren't necessarily physically here.
Clairsentience.
That's the
There you
word.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. That's the word.
Right.
Yeah,
I knew it was in there somewhere. It was
yeah,
rattling around.
yeah.
All right. Cool. So, but the person you are now, if I may just say this to one and all, is very much you've got an absolute. You're like a laser focused. You know where your direction is. I've never known, except over the last few months, never known you so focused on direction. And you'd get the website looking this way, and the LinkedIn looking this way, and the focus. It, so this all came out of that, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, this has been edifying, to say the least. Guys, I hope you found this as interesting as I have. If you want to find out more, please do trek along to KarenBashford.com. Karen and I will be talking regularly, and I think what we'll do is we'll pick on various topics within the whole umbrella of what she covers. Some of which you're going to find weird and esoteric, some of which you're going to find absolutely clicks into your normal everyday thinking. Uh, I ask you, I urge you, go along for the ride. Let it wash over you. Let it enter you, and let it fester a bit, and see what bits really attract you. I would say to any one of you, I mean, obviously, particularly women, because that's our focus at the moment. If you find that you are unable to express to your partner, your friends, to your family, that thing that is either holding you back or misdirecting you or forcing you to query your life, I would suggest having a conversation with Karen, because she's quite good at this. Um, Many thanks for taking the time out today, Karen. This is the first time we've done a live stream, so I hope you found it enjoyable.
I loved it.
No, oh, thank you. The most important thing to me is if you can find a way, and Karen is a great conduit. I mean, there are other people who will do this sort of thing, but I think because Karen's not just focusing on hypnotherapy, but it's kind of like her mode is a mix of all these different kind of esoteric concepts together. If you can find a way of reconciling yourself with your inner child, you're going to find that moving forward is with clarity.
Mhm.
And without that brain fog that comes of having 100 different ideas all dragging you in different directions. I would just say thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Karen, for teaching me, because I'm literally a dunce at this sort of stuff. And even though my wife is very keen on this, I really don't know anything. But I am keen to learn, and and Karen's a good teacher. So can I thank you very much for taking the time out today, Karen? And I
Thank you
would
for having me.
Oh, it was an absolute pleasure. It was an absolute pleasure. And I wish everyone out there a wonderful, safe weekend and of course, great mental health. Goodbye to everyone. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.